As Netanyahu recovers from a hernia operation, he's conscious and the doctors feel the process went well. There are riots, there are protests, there are people with megaphones shouting for his resignation to give him a one-way ticket out of the country. And yet there are also his supporters. He's hugely supported by the ultra-nationalists, by the far right, by those people who want to pray on the Temple Mount and to build homes along the beach in the Gaza Strip, the settlers. And at the same time, you have to recognize that Netanyahu has not brought the hostages home. Netanyahu has not brought peace. Netanyahu is held responsible by many in Israel today for the security lapses which saw the Hamas guerrillas topple into Israel and perform one of the most vicious terrorist acts of recent years. And he's also the Prime Minister who has presided over this dreadful attack on Gaza, which has shifted global opinion away from sympathy for Israel and for the October the 7th attack to outright and outspoken condemnation of Israel as a nation intent on a genocidal revenge. The reality, I think, is far more nuanced than the people who march on Saturdays through London, and the reality is far more nuanced than the individuals who campaign for more and more aggressive ownership of the land of Eretz Israel. It's about a man, I think, fighting for political power, fighting to survive, and fighting for his legacy. And he would want his legacy to be a war leader who leads the country to success. I think his legacy will be somebody who has made Israel into a pariah state. And the Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Minister, Yariv Levin, who has been acting Prime Minister while Netanyahu was unconscious under full anesthesia, has been in a sort of pause condition, as indeed has Mr. Netanyahu, while tens of thousands of Israelis thronged central Jerusalem yesterday in the largest anti-government protest since the country went to war in October. Were they simply taking advantage of the fact that Netanyahu was unconscious? He gave a televised speech saying that he wanted to reassure the hostages' families that he understands their pain and the government is doing everything it can to get their loved ones home. But he has identified a problem. The problem is actually something partly of his own making, but the problem is there, that hostages were taken, that Israelis were killed on the 7th of October. His solution is to attack the Gaza Strip and to raise it to the ground, to bombard the civilians in the Gaza Strip with weapons, with the military, with feet on the ground. And yet the hostages have still not been returned. And there are calls for a new election. There's determination on Netanyahu's part to continue with the offensive until Hamas is destroyed and all the hostages are freed. And it's that sort of sentence which proves the nonsense, this confusion of problem and solution, the confusion of one solution with another. That sentence itself needs unpacking. to continue the offensive, although there are UN condemnations, to continue the offensive until Hamas is destroyed. Okay. But what grows in the place of Hamas, with the resentment against the Israeli occupation, and to continue the offensive until all the hostages are freed? Well, the offensive is not releasing the hostages, demonstrably not. What the offensive is doing is releasing a lot of the prisoners who have been taken and kept in Israeli jails. Well, maybe they should never have been there in the first place. Maybe what this conflict exposes is a failure in the governments of Israel since the turn of the century. These right-wing governments of Israel, maybe they're going down the wrong route. Maybe this pandering to the settler community and to the hard right is a mistake. Maybe Israel needs that election. Maybe Israel needs a reset.